Hi, we're here at the CrossTech Fintech Payments event in New York City. I'm here with Erick Schneider.
Always a pleasure.
And my name is Hugo Cuevas-Mohr. And this is another episode of this CrossTech podcast and CrossTech series on discussions on industry topics. So the theme of this talk will be the challenges and opportunities and integration of crypto solutions into the cross-border payments system or ecosystem or industry.
Well, thank you, Hugo, because that's a topic near and dear to my heart. I love it, and I'm very excited to talk further.
Okay, so I will ask you some questions that just to get off started in the subject. So the first one will be, what are the key limitations, indicators, that crypto is entering into the mainstream finance? What do you think those indicators are right now?
The biggest indicator is the conference at CrossTech right now, I would say. And I think we could extrapolate that. And it's funny, you take a look at CrossTech a few years ago, you had all these TradFis attending. If you talk about the meetings that I had today, the attendees, these are TradFis that have a stablecoin component or one that has a crypto side or are predominantly crypto native. And I think this is the natural progression that we've seen not only in the cross-border space, but in overall crypto adoption itself. Crypto has proven that it's here to stay. I like that. We have gone through multiple ups and downs. I wish I had purchased Bitcoin back in 2010. I couldn't spell BTC back then, so I didn't do it. However, I've seen a lot of cycles since I've gotten into the market. 2017, ups and downs, and then 2021, ups, and then the crypto winter to go through, and then we're back. I think that the biggest takeaway from that is we have survived all of these hardships, and we are now here from an official standpoint, which I'm sure you're going to be asking about regulation, but that to me is the other piece. It's a regulated environment that people are excited about, and not just for speculation.
Yes, and I tell you, we've seen it. I've said we had the first talk or panel about Bitcoin was 2012 in an IMTC, and I think most people in this industry heard about crypto solutions back then. And yes, we traded with some Bitcoin. We had payments in Bitcoin to come to conferences for,
wow.
And we've kept some of those. So, and they have gone up and down. But I'm not that much concerned about that volatility, because this industry is about using crypto as a solution to make easier payments and less friction, and not the speculation side of the rise and fall of the cost. Correct? Correct?
It's valid. What I would say though is it's difficult to have separated it before. Right now, I'm excited about the fact that we're talking about it because it's gotten so much traction in the last year. Let's say from the previous CrossTech Payments conference to this one, there's a lot more discussion and there's a lot more implementation. That said, it was all over the place before. Part of that was because of lack of regulation, but I think a big part of it was because speculation got ahead of the utility side.
Yes.
And with speculation came the volatility. With speculation came certain blowups. I'm not going to spell it out, but FTX, for example, things like that really hurt, I think, the crypto adoption that we have overcome at this time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, how is the traditional cross-border financial sector adapting to the rise of the use of the utility of cryptocurrencies?
Okay, here I'm not going to mince my words. I don't think that the traditional segment has embraced crypto as quickly as they could have, and there are implications for that. To me, the implications is I'm seeing a bunch of new names in cross-border payments that didn't exist 5 years ago. You and I were just speaking to somebody just now that he's like, yeah, I started my firm 4 years ago and I'm doing $4 billion in annual volume, and it's starting to accelerate a lot faster. There are a lot more use cases like that. And so I think the traditionals have suffered in not adopting innovation, which that's what crypto is, really. It's just a new technology to adopt. It's a crypto innovation side. And so I see that the traditional ones have not embraced it as soon, There are some that are at this conference that said, all right, we're getting to the table late, but we're at the table, and I think there's still space for that. What worries me are the companies that are keeping their horse blinders on, not moving forward with, and this is not because I'm crypto forward. I'm saying this is because what the direction is going for the market. There's a lot more regulation in place. There's a lot more volume in place. There are a lot more players. And what I think is interesting is we talked about this on a panel earlier on today at CrossTech, which was a lot of end consumers, like the B2B companies, that are the SMEs that are sending funds. They don't even see the crypto component. They need to get money from A country to B country. They don't care how. It's these cross-border payments that are saying, we have found a way to be more competitive in the markets, leveraging this innovation, in certain cases, lowering the cost, either keeping the margin themselves, pass it on to the customers. And I think that's the key impetus, and I expect that to cycle a lot faster.
Yes, and I agree with you, definitely. I agree with your answer. And what I see is that sometimes when they do the cost analysis, they feel the risk is still too high, which I don't agree, because there is certain corridors and certain use cases where we're definitely using a crypto solution is much better. It's more cost effective and it's faster. That needs to sink in some industry players, because who is using those solutions in those specific situations are making headways.
Yeah.
And the more they make, the more it hurts the traditional players. And maybe they're not going to see it as soon as they should. So I agree with you on that. Now, you think that regulatory uncertainty plays a role into that?
100%. Okay. That regulatory uncertainty, I think, has hindered the crypto adoption for everything, and utility across the board. I think it killed NFTs, which I'm not sad about, in all honesty. But when we talk about the crypto adoption component, unless it's going to be regulated, unless there's clarity, it's not going to be adopted mainstream, because the larger players, the likes of a BlackRock, for example, are not going to get into it. And so I'm actually quite bullish now. We have the Genius Act, which is, well, it just failed for the vote. I found out about a few minutes ago today, but there's potential in there. And this is around stablecoin regulation. There's another component that I want to talk about is, last year we talked about crypto regulation. This year we're talking about regulation for stablecoins. We're talking about regulation for Bitcoin itself, and we're talking about regulation for alternative tokens. And I think the benefit to that is we're seeing different utilities for each asset class. And that, on the stablecoin especially, I think is going to help accelerate adoption. So these companies that you had mentioned were gaining headway, that means they're getting market share and they're taking it away from the traditional players. The way they're able to do that is they took a bigger gamble. They built the infrastructure based on crypto, especially on stablecoin, and they're going through. But that gamble is paying off until there's no regulation. And let's say worst case scenario, regulation comes through against stablecoin, these companies are gone and they're going through, which is why there's reluctance from the traditional companies stepping in. I think that the direction, though, is the United States especially is going to be implementing regulation that is going to be more favorable, and I think more importantly, very clear on what the rules are. And then from there, I think other countries around the world are going to be taking note of what the United States is referencing and building a similar infrastructure. So this really is going to pave the way for an accelerated curve of crypto adoption.
And I tell you, you know that I see things from a larger perspective because of my time in the industry. But it was the same thing before with the remittance player, the money transfer companies built by migrants for their migrants without any regulation existing, with all the rise of regulation, the problems, and it took time. And when the time was right, the regulation was in place. Some of the companies suffered through, some made it, but then it came the way of acquisitions, banks entering the market. Banks took maybe 20 years to get into the remittance space. And they got in some countries, several years later, they had a monopoly. And now some of them are losing it because of startups and fintechs, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a process that I've been seeing on and on. So for me, it's just this process happening again. Of course, it's different players, different scenarios, but regulation will get there, and the more companies that are there innovating, they will adjust to that, because you're not going to come up and say, okay, they're all gone. No, I mean, every regulation in the past have grandfathered in the players that were there. Not all of them, but most of them.
Spot on. I live by the mantra, the only constant is change.
Yes.
That's actually how I overcome the fact that I'm going bald. I'm like, it's just change. It's just evolution. That's all. But the truth is, I think that companies usually get into a comfortable set of, all right, I built something, I'm going to ride this out. And you have to find the balance of optimizing this part, but investing on innovation. And I think this is one of the key components that I would say for cross-border companies, taking a look at leveraging crypto. I wouldn't see it as investing in crypto. I would see it as investing in innovation and doing the next best technology that's out there to be consistently ahead of, because if not, the smaller startups are going to come and eat their lunch.
Yes, that's true. So the last question, I want to talk about what future developments or what developments that are happening right now could further solidify crypto's role in this environment, of cross-border payments.
Just like with drugs, everything's driven by need, supply and demand, right? And I hate to do the comparison of, right, because crypto really is on the up and up. But the truth is, if you take a look at crypto, the demand is there. And the demand is not just for speculation, although that is a nice to have, and I've made a tidy profit off of it already myself, but also from a utility standpoint. People want to hold something that's in dollars if they're in a volatile currency market, for example. And there are companies that are leveraging ways to ensure that those individuals and those retail segments have access to. From a selfish standpoint, I'll tell you about what Kraken has done. So we recently launched Embed. Embed is a crypto as a service program where we say, we are a global crypto exchange. We know exactly how to do all of this, but we don't have all the clients in the world. Other companies, such as Bunk, whom we launched with in Europe, Bunk has a very large client base. They heard the demands that their clients want access to crypto. They implemented Embed into their own app, and powered by Kraken, in 2 to 3 taps, they're able to buy Bitcoin right off the bat at favorable terms, and it's with a solid company such as Kraken. I think the Embed component is one of many innovations that we're seeing at the time, and I think that is only going to continue until crypto becomes available in everyone's wallet.
Well, great. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been great to hear your point of view. I learned quite a bit every time that I talk to you, and you keep me ahead of the changes and the evolution that is happening. So thanks so much.
It's my passion. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.